Headers and footers. We're going to set up some headers and footers, and we're going to do it using the page layout view, which is the best place to do it. We're going to do it drawing from a standard list. We're going to type in the header and footer, and we're going to build a custom header and footer using the command buttons on the contextually driven tab when we're in the page layout view and we select Add a Header. And then we're going to find we can format the header and footer using the formatting options on the Home tab. I've got a blank worksheet, and we're going to add some headers and footers using the page layout view. And a header and a footer is just some standard content. Many times it's text, and sometimes it's other information. It can be a picture as well that shows up on the top and on the bottom of all the printed pages on your print job. So the page layout view is the best place to add headers and footers, and we can get to that in one of two ways. I'm going to left-click the command button down here, page layout, and we're in the page layout view. Some reasons you may want to add a header or footer is because you may want to include a title or an author of the workbook. You may want to timestamp it because it may be time-sensitive information. You may want to include the network path that the file is stored on so that somebody that has a hard copy can actually go find the original file. You may want to have some security indication as to whether the information is confidential or not. Or you can have a company logo. And it doesn't matter which page of the print job you add the header and footer to. The header and footer will be printed on all pages that's part of that print job. So setting up the header and footer. We have something obvious displayed for us. Click to add header. I'll go up there and hover over that. And I find that I have three different zones that I can add a header into. I've got left aligned, center, and right aligned. And depending upon which one of these blue boxes I click, obviously will determine the placement of the header on the page. I'm going to click the center box, left click the center box, and I get the cursor. And I also get a contextually driven tab, the header and footer tools, the design tab. On the left side, I have a drop down that lists for me beginning with none, which you would select to clear a header that's already been established. We don't have one yet. Followed by 17 different options that I can select from to build my header with. Some of these options fill in just the center box, page 1 of 4. So now we know there's 4 pages in our print job. I'm going to left click that again, left click the design tab, left click the drop down. And some of these options fill in more than one box. And the way you can determine it is each of the different pieces of information are separated by a comma. The one that's second from the bottom has 2 commas and 3 bits of information, and when I left click that, I get the 3 bits of information displayed in each one of the 3 zones, left, center, and right. Having done that, I can also type in some information. I've got my name in there. I can enter and put a few letters after my name. If you need more space in your header, you can increase the space by left-clicking in the ruler and dragging down, where you can continue to type multiple lines in each of the zones in the header. The footer works the same way, by the way. The footer, and I'll left-click the Design tab, can be reached easily by left-clicking Go to Footer. There are 3 zones in the footer, and you can populate the footer in the same way that you populate the header, and you can also obviously type content in there as well. Going back up to the header, I'm going to clear this header information by left-clicking None, so we can start all over again. I'm going to left-click the center zone, get back to the Design tab, where I can, instead of choosing from that standard list, set up a custom header using the command buttons in the header and footer elements group. I may want to put the sheet name in the center. On the right side, I may want to set up the current time, or I could actually set up the current date enter down and set up the current time. That way it'll be separated. It might be easier to read. And on the left side, maybe I want to put the file name. And of course, you can do the same thing with the footer. I'm going to click off of that and point out that we are still in the page layout view, and these headers and footers are not visible when you go back to the normal view. You are looking at the regular worksheet again. That, I would imagine, is to not clutter up the geographical area that you have on your screen and give you more workspace. But if you want to get to the header and footer, of course, back to the page layout view is the best place to do it. We can also use the formatting options on the Home tab. They're not grayed out. We can make the file name bold, we can italicize it, we can increase the font size, and apply any of the formatting options that we have available in the font group. To see the impact of that, left-click outside that box, and we can see that Book 1 has now been bolded, it's italicized, and the font has been increased in size. So that's an introduction to headers and footers. We found that the best place to work on headers and footers is in the page layout view, which is where we are now. In this view, when we click on a zone in either the header or the footer area, we get a Header and Footer Tools contextually driven tab, the Design tab, where we have a drop-down list of 17 different options that we can populate our header zones with and our footer zones. We can also type in content, and we can use the command buttons in the Header and Footer Elements group to build a custom header and footer. And once we've defined a header and a footer, we can use the formatting options on the Home tab to refine the look of our header and footer.